In the main event, we of course have Max Holloway, former champion, taking on surging contender Calvin Kattar. Um, but before we get to the main event, let's talk about some of the other fights on the card, and we will start with the prelims of note. Uh, Prelims of note, they could be just like, good, that could be fun, or just things that, well, I mean, it's just the notes are our own, and we'll maybe inform you of what they are. I included a couple. Um, Phil Hawes is back, fresh off his 18-second knockout in his UFC debut. Brad, this is why I included in this one. I was actually curious about your thoughts about Phil Hawes. Graham, we only saw him for 18 seconds, but does he seem like a guy who got a gift in his debut or a guy that has a lot of upside?
A guy I don't know very much about. Like you said, we've only seen him for a few seconds. In those seconds that we saw, looks like a guy that's got plenty of upside. So excited to see what he's got to bring to the table. But he's largely an unknown. Big question mark coming into this. So we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, and his first fight, I did hear some chatter about some favorable matchup in his first bout, but when you immediately in your next bout get um, unheralded Russian, they're not doing you any favors.
No.
So I'm really curious how he comes out of this one. The other one I included because I'm surprised it's on the prelims. You have Tom Breeze taking on Akhmedov. Of course, Akhmedov, fresh off his well, not fresh. It was a few months ago, but he lost a decision to Chris Weidman in Weidman's do or die fight. And Tom Breeze is his last bout was a stoppage. Um, do you have any thoughts on that prelim of note?
I'm very excited about it. Tom Breeze got a lot of hype behind him coming over from the UK. That's a guy that all the British dudes are talking about a lot. Excited for it. Amari Akhmedov has become very, very solid, like number 15 gatekeeper. Like he's the guy that you beat to get into the 10 to 15 range. So if Tom Breeze can get past him, then he's looking at like a 13, 14 ranking, and he can really start working through those middleweight rankings.
Yeah, and that's the thing about really both men, Akhmedov and Tom Breeze. They both are dudes who, on paper, seem to have it. The tools that you would want in a complete mixed martial artist. Tom Breeze is also massive. How he ever made 170 is a mystery to me. Um, yeah, I'm curious because Tom Breeze, he's both men I would say are well rounders or all rounders, with slight edges in, maybe Tom Breeze has a little bit better stand up. Akhmedov is a little bit of a better grappler, as is customary against a man of Eastern European descent, but um, it's not unthinkable to think that either man could win in the area the other one's thought to have a strength. That's uh that's why I love the matchup.
Yeah.
And then Soriano takes on Dusko. Battle of the Undefeated, as we say in this game, and then any other game where people have win-loss records. The O must go.
Yeah.
Um, there. I wish I would have watched some footage of Dusko, um, because memory serves, there's a little bit of hype on that fella as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There is.
So yeah, I'm just both are relatively young, and if Soriano is any indication, this fight should be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Um, Joaquin Buckley is back. Yeah, let's see if he can make it 3 in a row as far as stoppages.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't know too much about Alessio Di Rico.
Yeah, I don't either.
This is actually the downside to not just floating around on the internet, is that we could figure out who that guy is, but not going
Yeah,
to be bothered. I'd rather have a cleaner presentation.
yeah, this is the better way to go.
Uh, and then Ponzinibbio takes on Liang Li. Dude,
Yeah, boy.
dope, dope, dope. I was just doing a dude who Lee beat um at UFC Beijing. I was doing his I was watching footage of him earlier today, and he fought Jing Lie Ling, or Jesus, Lee. And every time you kind of forget about Lee until he's on the card, and then you're like, oh yeah, China has produced, weirdly enough, a really hard hitting welterweight.
Yeah, and a guy that's like super durable. Like he gets in these like just these wars. Um, yeah, no, that is going to be incredible. I mean, Ponzinibbio's record is like outrageous. I mean, it's padded to some degree, but like that is a stellar record. I mean, he's a guy that was on a roll, was fighting in main events, took out, finished Neil Magny in his last fight. Was I want to say number 7 in the rankings when he was removed due to inactivity. So yeah, that is like that could be your real co-main or even a main event on a fight night card. So I mean, in 3 days later, Neil Magny is fighting in a main event, and in his last fight, Neil Magny was stopped by Ponzinibbio. So um, Ponzinibbio is a guy that is like a real contender in that division. Um, Jiang Li is like super durable. That fight is just going to be a banger. It's going to be great.
And then just a note for anyone watching the episode, the numbers by the people's names. I cut these out from Tapology. These are the Tapology rankings, not any sort of like official UFC or journalist rankings. It's the user generated Tapology rankings. So I am not sure what. So Ponzinibbio is no longer ranked at all.
He has been removed completely from the UFC rankings due to inactivity quite a while ago. Yeah,
How long has it been since he fought?
2 years, I want to say. Like almost
Wow.
2 years.
Okay. Well, I did. That's one of those things is that in a sport like this where things change so quick and guys rise up so quick and fall off really quick, um, I hadn't. I just thought maybe he got lost in the shot. I forgot that he had gone away. I thought maybe he got. Honestly, that three, the 27-3 is honestly. I'm having like a Mandela effect moment right now because I'm like, he had to have lost way more than just 3 times because yeah, I thought I remembered him losing more than that, but that fight should be awesome. And then in the co-main event, we got two dudes who I was just discussing this the other day. Is there's very few guys now where I have an emotional attachment as to whether or not they do well or they lose. Um, and really, the only guys I feel that with are dudes who I watched and I looked up to growing up. Um, and this is a fight where I feel the same way about both guys. They're both guys that I would be emotionally involved watching the fight, hoping that they come through. But maybe it'll soften whoever loses. Maybe it'll soften my emotions knowing that they lost to another old dog.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that co-main event?
In terms of matchmaking, I mean, it is good matchmaking. I mean, you're putting old dull steel against old dull steel, but my only hope out of this is that they both retire regardless of what happens. I mean, Matt Brown had already retired. It just came out of retirement for this fight. Carlos Condit, while he did finally just get a nice win over Court McGee, he was on a really bad, long losing streak before that. And he's been taking a lot of time off. He's old. He's taken a lot of brutal damage in his career. Um, Love both the guys, but I really want Matt Brown to be done after this, and I would like Carlos Condit to also be done after this, or maybe one more. Um, but it'll be fun. It'll be a nice, fun fight. Two old guys at the very end of their careers give us, one more good performance. These guys, I put them both in the same category. We'll get there a little later, as Diego Sanchez, essentially, who's been talking like one more and then I'm out of here.
Yeah, I think it's the next evolution in making the sport as safe as possible. Um, we've heard for years now that gyms have renovated the way that people train. Of course, There's still hard sparring in MMA. There's really no way to get away from hard sparring in MMA. According to, I mean, I've never heard of a fighter who doesn't at least do 1 day a week. Um, but these older fighters, the ones who've looked after things enough to where at this point MMA is just a thing they do, and they've kind of throughout their career they've slowly transitioned into other businesses and other ways to make money, um, and they just fight once a year. They just are like, yeah, um, I'll fight every summer. That's what I'll do. And I think that's going to be with older guys, maybe not the generation of Condit and Brown, but maybe just one generation behind them. I think we'll see a lot of older athletes that, once they hit their mid 40s, if it's a thing they want to do, they'll just do it once a year. They'll just, they're not going to make, like, neither Carlos Condit and Matt Brown, neither one of themselves, I would imagine, are thinking like, yeah, this fight is the beginning of my climb back to contention.
Yeah,
No, they're either doing it to make money or they're doing it because they want to do it, or both. That's it.
yeah,
Like there's no striving to be best in the world at this point in the Condit Brown matchup. It's literally just like, we don't want to lose the opportunity to see some version of Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown before both men retire.
yeah,
That's how I feel about it. I mean, I would have, if these guys would have never fought. Well, I mean, we're not to Saturday yet, so cross your fingers because we're in COVID age. But assuming this fight happens on Saturday, if it would have not happened, right? This is definitely a fight that, if I thought of missed fights in the welterweight division, Condit Brown, without a doubt, would be near the top of the list.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so we'll see whatever version of them shows up on Saturday, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited for it. Um, and both men still helping make history, even at an older age, and not quite in the title hunt anymore. They're going to be the first ever co-main event on ABC.
Yeah.
So, and then that brings us to our main event. Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar. You have Holloway coming off of a razor thin, as close can be, split decision loss to Volkanovski, and Kattar, who has won 4 in a row.
Yeah.
His last fight being Ige.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how do you think this one goes down?
It's definitely going to be a banger. I'm very excited for that fight. Two young guys. Essentially, I mean, you basically already have locked in. It's not official yet, but essentially locked in for March, April timeframe. You're looking at Ortega and Volkanovski. So if you pencil that in, if if Calvin Kattar gets a big finish over Max Holloway, then I would pencil him in as your next guy to fight the winner of that next title fight. Now, if Max wins, in all honesty, I don't think this does much for him. This keeps him at number one, basically. It sets him up to fight another top featherweight, like a Zabit or a Yair, right? So Max, not necessarily that much to gain, but his objective here is to hold the number one spot. And until Volkanovski loses to someone, if and then like this could all be out the door if Volkanovski loses to Brian Ortega, and Max gets a nice win over Calvin Kattar, then I mean that this could all change in an instant. But this division is very interesting with Max essentially your uncrowned king. I mean, I'm still of the belief that he won the second fight and is the best featherweight in the division. I know a lot of MMA fans feel that way. So it's a situation of like he's until he can fight for the belt again, he's just gonna just kill your contenders. He's gonna sit there and kill all your contenders coming up. But hey, Calvin Kattar gets a chance to take out the former champ on ABC network television. Huge opportunity earlier in the day. It's going to take place at around 5 p.m. on Saturday. So yeah, huge opportunity for everybody involved. Should be great.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you're exactly right as far as Holloway's really just fighting to keep his place in line. I mean, and also let's be honest, Max Holloway, unless he goes on a huge skid, is never going to be too far away.
No, he's a favorite. He's a favorite child of the UFC, much like Joanna is. He is always like he has a huge fan following too. Like he's the guy.
Yeah, yeah, and for Cutter, I mean, Cutter, not that he's not a super fun guy to watch, but there's just something there's just some fighters that hey man, he even if he goes out here and starches Holloway, I don't think he has very much casual appeal.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I mean his marquee win is over Dan Ige. So this is a huge, huge opportunity for Calvin Cutter to at least cut through the noise. Because I mean he's gonna have a little bit of time between when this bout takes place and when Volkanovski is going to be ready, or Ortega would be ready to defend. So while in a perfect world, a win over Max Holloway would put him in title contention. Who knows?
yeah.
Who knows? Um, but yeah, Max Holloway really, really needs this win because if he does not win, I don't even know where you go from there.
Mhm.
I don't know where you go from there. Honestly, it's not an easy road for Holloway either way it goes, because as long as, like you said, as long as Volkanovski is champion, Holloway is not getting another shot. I mean, Holloway would have to go on the craziest run ever to get another shot at Volkanovski. And that's not even because the UFC would be unwilling. And that's not even because the fans would be unwilling to watch it. Volkanovski is very clear. He's like, I am 2-0. It's not, it's a non issue. I'm 2-0. I don't want to fight him again.
Mhm.
And from Volkanovski's perspective, that's pretty understandable. I mean, it's not a rubber match. It's just giving Holloway another chance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, even though a lot of people think that he won, unfortunately for Holloway, whatever's on paper is ultimately what matters. And so he's got a long road ahead. If Volkanovski does not lose his next defense.
Yeah.